Hello and welcome to season 5 of the Voiro Podcast. Kavita, Shenoy, how are you?
Good. How are you, Anand, Gopal?
Very, very well. We tried kicking this off on a non-Friday and received some pushback.
Yes.
So here we are on a Friday.
Yes, because apparently the mood on a Friday is very different. I agree. I absolutely agree because I know that we're going to grab lunch after this and it's going to be an easy end of the week. You know, even when we have client meetings, they're so much more fun on a Friday because everybody's a little more relaxed. Or they cancel, one of the two.
I like it.
It's
The cancellations are unfortunate.
Yes,
but
let's
it's
do it
true.
on Monday.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think maybe we should just have Fridays. Every day should just be a Friday.
then what's the difference? What's the difference then? There has to be
Wishful
a low
thinking.
for it there to be a high.
No.
It's becoming so philosophical, this podcast.
Great. We are excited about season 5.
Yes.
And before we get into a couple of interesting thingamabobs about the industry, what are you watching these days?
Oh man, I'm really not watching anything. And like we were discussing just before this, there's been a lot of socializing and outdoor activities. You started playing Ultimate Frisbee again?
Yes, not again, for the first time.
Oh, really?
For the first
I thought
time.
you already always played
No,
it.
never did. First time. And I was in the noob section. My friend Ani took me out for a game last weekend and it was fun.
Do you guys go across to Maverick and have a coffee after
Yes.
that? Okay.
Smoothie.
A smoothie?
Yeah.
Man. I heard that if you eat fruit all ground up is not that great for you.
I've heard if it's cold pressed, and I'm sure Anil will have something to say about this. It's either good for you or not good for you. I forget which one. One
My
of the
God,
two.
this banter is insane. All right.
Yeah, but
Speaking of-
but I am also not watching anything these days. I remember we decided we would sort of table that at the start of every episode, and I realized I'm just not watching any show. There was a time when I had 3 shows in parallel, and I was watching something or the other, and it's been, I want to say, a month since I saw anything. And like I was telling you before we started recording, this correlation is the fact that we're also outdoors a lot more lately.
Yeah, no, but my kids have gotten addicted or hypnotized or something by this show called Just Add Magic.
Oh,
Ah, man, it's just like this show that is an insane drain on our time. And I mean, I've been praising this whole CTV concept and having a TV in the middle of the house and all of that jazz. But ever since we've pulled back on our kids spending time on their phones, and we've told them you can watch whatever you need to in the middle of the house, right? So that you're a little more conscious of the time you're spending. I don't think it's working very well in our favor because there's this ridiculous show that's on the screen all the time. So I'm forcibly watching Just Add Magic and reruns of Rizzoli and Isles.
oh
Have
man.
you ever seen
No,
Rizzoli
no,
and Isles?
I have not.
You have not seen this show? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's an older show. It's about cops, and there are these 2 women. One is Rizzoli, one is Isles, and it's based in Boston. Surprise!
Oh, all
about
cops and law shows that are based in Boston.
Yeah. Anyway, so today I thought we'll talk a little bit about what's happening in the media universe, and I was doing a little bit of prep yesterday about all the stuff that we had read in the last 2 weeks because we had a break from the last season to this season, and we'll also talk about what we are going to be doing in this coming season, and if anybody who's listening wants to participate in it, they can. I was reading our favorite Evan Shapiro's newsletter where he was talking about where we are in the media universe. Now, in 2020, at the cusp of the pandemic, he published the media universe as a map, right? And at that point in time, the center of gravity in the media universe had already moved from Hollywood to big tech. And 3 years on, it has not moved back, right? All the guys, all the content creators, all the broadcasters, right? Everybody started chasing what a Spotify was doing or a Netflix was doing. They were trying to emulate the tech play that they were doing at that point. And they have really, really burnt their fingers. 3 years on, we can see it. Disney Plus was the last effort by a broadcaster to launch a streaming service. We haven't seen too many launches after that. We have seen consolidation, acquisition.
Max.
Yeah. Max. But we have not seen it move back. The other thing that we can also see is that sports and news are front runners for any portfolio in a broadcaster's lineup. And they are used for very specific purposes. Sports is almost like the Pied Piper, right? Takes away audiences from various other platforms, kind of like gets this frenzied, passionate audience across from one provider to the other. And we've seen it happen closer to home between Hotstar and Geo Cinema. And we see that this year Apple has signed on Messi for MLS, and YouTube has got NFL, and Amazon has got Thanksgiving American football, I think. And then they will also 100% do some kind of, because after Thanksgiving is your Prime Day sale and things like that, right? So they'll Shopify that entire experience. So the rules of media, according to Evan Shapiro, are not changing. They have changed. Do you think so?
I think so. The one thing that always makes me wonder or lift an eyebrow is when traditional media companies embark upon a new app, and we've not seen it succeed very often. In fact, I will say that Disney Plus is probably an exception in my books. Disney Plus or even HBO. Even HBO is, they've gone from HBO to Max, and at the same time, their sister company CNN shut down CNN Plus. With sport, with content, you're always going to see a growth in the scale of your audiences, which means it's not something you can build and forget. It's something that is a longer effort. You need to keep attracting top talent in the tech space who wants to work for a media company, which is rare. Most people want to go and work for a tech company.
Yep.
But I was always wondering, if the rules are not changing, then we're going back to the old adage that sport has an isolated capability to attract audiences. And I was wondering why that is. The one thing about sport is I think it plays into 3 or 4 different trends. One is it is very, very close to where consumer behavior is, right? Even with the launch of these apps. I remember when Star Sports launched they said, watch IPL on starsports.com.
Right.
Back in 2014.
Yep.
If you remember, the entire creative for the campaign was around the fact that consumer behavior has changed. You want to watch the match while sitting in a boring meeting. You want to watch the match when you're on a bus. You want to watch the match when you're commuting.
Yeah.
The point is, sport is the only type of content that has an independent ability to bring people together. So if you make an app and you want to say, what is that shiny object I can put inside that will attract people only on the back of the content, not for the app, not for me, not for how great the experience is. It is for me, not even news, sport.
Yeah.
I get my news on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's only sport. It can bring families together. There was an India-Pakistan match last weekend, and I know so many people who were trying to figure out who's got a party going. You don't want to watch it on your own. You want that community behavior.
Yep.
And you said sports fans are frenzied.
Yeah.
So nobody cares. If I want to watch the US Open, which is going on right now, and you told me it's on an obscure platform where I have to pay only for that platform, at the end of the day, I'll do it. I have a principle and I will only use a subscription that I'm already paying for. So it has that independent ability to attract people, which is why it's such a core part of a broadcaster's portfolio, because like you said, you can come for sport and then stay for everything else. But even that staying power has a half-life.
Yep.
The minute the season ends, you will lose people. The minute you lose those rights, nobody's going to stay for the other content, even though it was really good.
Yeah. So Samya Gupta, in her article about Geo Cinema riding the wave, it's the exact same playbook as a Disney Plus and a Hotstar did.
Yeah, but they've taken it up a notch in terms of aggression.
Yeah. One, aggression, and the long-term planning. They had phones. I mean, it could be serendipitous. It could be something that just happened. But if you look back at it in time, the way they went about trying to shore up their capabilities, getting the party started, and then going towards sports and plonking that amount of money down was incredible. So with Hotstar, they got the IPL rights, and then they grew on the back of it. What Geo Cinema has done is that they corralled audiences by giving them a free phone and free data, right? When Geo came in with their spectrum. So suddenly, overnight, data became double in India. Then they went around putting in fiber in everybody's homes.
Which people across the world find unbelievable, by the way. I was in the US with some family of mine, and I was telling them how much data we get and how much we pay for it. Their jaw just dropped. And this is not even Geo. I have an Airtel connection.
Yeah.
And this is just not the case in the US. Data is so expensive.
It is. And it's so difficult for you to be able to choose between providers, because there's an underground cable and you have to have one that bid. And then if you want some other provider, that provider should be passing through the cables and giving a share of revenue to as rent for those cables that have already been laid down in whichever suburbia that there is. The 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 ugly side of this ability for our choice in number of providers is that we have all these hanging wires that we have across trees and across our telephone lines, across our buildings, etc. And there is no order.
Yeah.
Right. So there is chaos, and it's pretty ugly, but you get choice. So that's the trade-off that you have between choice and scale. But coming back to Jio, they had fiber. They put fiber in everybody's homes. And then they went on to launching Jio Cinema, right? And then they picked up IPL. So it seems like it's a far better playbook in terms of how they set themselves up. But then they've gone back to the old playbook of, hey, you've come for sports, stay for the entertainment, similar to what Hotstar had done in the past.
Yeah.
But then to their credit, they have a launch of some original content every Friday.
Yeah.
Which is something that is encouraging the ecosystem, the fact that they're able to give new content creators the ability to create new amount.
And I thought that hype cycle had kind of died down. But
yeah, it hasn't. I mean, there's so much original content right now that you can actually name, put your sort of focus on. And one of the good things that India is famous for is the fact that we can export a lot of our talent. Right? Earlier, it was based on tech talent that we were exporting, and people went outside the country to study. We can actually have our content travel, right? Because there are a lot of globally acceptable, relevant things that we are talking about, or also curious things that are specific to India that could be very interesting for people to look at. And that the only way that can be created at scale is if you give original content a chance. So I think Jio's on to something there in terms of riding the wave and what Soumya Gupta has painted in the Impression newsletter. Coming back to sports as a Pied Piper for app launches and as well as app usage and audiences, Warner Brothers has also planned to offer live sports at no additional cost on Max, right? The streaming service for a limited period of time this year. They have betting basketball, they have baseball and hockey that will lure new customers. And this is something that I was reading on Bloomberg. Lucas Shaw was writing about it. Again, same playbook. Get sports to be the Pied Piper. Make sure people are sticking in for the season. Get them to commit to the platform. Maybe they'll find something else to stay for it, by which time you'd have made money through their subscription, through advertisements, and the fact that you understand your users better.
It sounds like it's reminding me of this. If you remember playing Road Rash or Need for Speed, every now and then you can use this nitro boost.
Yes.
It sounds like that's what they're doing. It's more expensive. You burn more fuel.
Yeah.
You have to renew it or you lose the benefit of it. But it looks like it helps you stay in the race, get ahead.
Yeah. So in even our sports monetization journey, right, we're coming out with our white paper, and there are a lot of things that the marketing team is doing to be able to encapsulate the 9 years that we've been involved with sports monetization in India. Earlier on, I used to keep counting pennies on how much they were making in ad revenue and what would be the general subscription revenue they'd be making versus the kind of money they paid for the actual rights.
Yeah.
It's that is just the bottom of the, it's a very tiny part of this entire game, right? It's not about the money. It's about something that's much larger.
Yeah. It's clearly not, because we raked our head back when the IPL rights and Viacom 18 has now bought the BCCI rights as well for about 5,000 odd crore, if I'm not
which
mistaken.
Means all of cricket now for the next 5 years is on Jio Cinema.
I remember ran an exercise. I think we published a blog on this as well about the P&L of sports rights and the fact that it made no economic sense when they bid for the IPL rights. But what we subsequently learned through our own experiences working with customers who manage live sport through our platform, it's almost like a set of 3 concentric circles, right? There is the ad revenue that you make directly from the sporting event or series that you have rights to.
Right.
And that itself calls for so much technology, so much innovation, not just in terms of innovating on the ads experience, but also innovating on the business model of how you sell and create packages and push this to the ad market where you find a way for everybody to win, whether it's transparency around data, whether it's around the granularity of what you can buy. Because what you buy when it comes to sport is so tied to what's happening on field, so tied to the specific sport. So there's that for me, which is the inner circle. There's one level around that, which is, okay, as a result of this, did we drive subscription? And what were we able to do with those additional subscribers? Were we able to retain some of them? Were we able to sort of push existing subscribers up in their tier, etc.? But I think there's a lot of magic in the third circle outside of this, which is not visible to the naked eye, which is, how does this help us in terms of our brand? How does this help us in terms of what we want to do as a platform? You move the needle on technology, and that technology helps you somewhere else.
You understand your consumers better because this is like we said, a frenzied, passionate, committed, set of audience
citizens of the sport.
Citizens of the sport
As
and
Unmesh says,
representatives of the country, right?
Yeah.
That you're trying to get in. So then, if you're trying to create content for these people who are really rewarding you with their attention, what more can you do for them, and how can they then therefore spread the good word forward?
Because it's personal. I remember when we did Sid Betala's Indian Dream podcast, we touched upon one point, which is every one of us on the inside considers ourselves to be something of a sports person, right? And that's the connection that is just human nature. And that's basically what, in my opinion, all of this is tapping into. The celebrities in sport that we aspire to, the sports that we watch as frenzied fans. But I guarantee you, if you go and play football and you score a goal, in your head, you think that you have created a highlight reel that everybody will watch. You might have just stumbled across and kicked the ball. To the outside world, you might have looked like a broken down car. But in your head, it's a moment that you will remember for a long time. And we have that relationship with sport. We all think we are lean, mean sports persons. And I think something about that creates a relationship that's just so pure and interesting. That's what this whole thing is.
For sure.
Is based on.
News, on the other side, is very important for politics and policy. And if you want to be in the broadcasting space and if you want to survive it, you need to make sure that you're ahead of policy. And, we all love our Succession shows and whatever else, but we see this upfront as well. You're able to influence public opinion. Again, something that's passionate, frenzied. It's something that people are leaning into. People who really want to understand the news and want to be able to influence other people about what their thoughts are. People who are neutral, who are on the fence. They want to be able to subscribe to certain types of news outlets. And those news outlets are the ones that are influencing that section of the population. So while sports fans and news watchers, right, they are a smaller part of our friend circles. Out of 5 people, you will have 2 people who are into politics and news and they actually follow certain people. And you follow people on Twitter as well, right? Opinion matters. And so being able to control the narrative, being able to control the, how you influence public opinion is also a way to controlling people's attention. At the end of the day, it's about attention, right? And somebody saying, go watch XYZ as an anchor or this particular part of the news show, and that's what they're talking about nowadays. Yeah. Have you heard this? Or forwarding a piece of that news, etc. Similar to how sports fans would act about, did you see this play?
Yeah.
Right. So I think between sports and news, this is not new news, but it's still a playbook that everybody's employing right now. And I was mildly amused about the kind of PR and statements that are coming out at IBC this year, right? There seems to be a lot of collaboration on the table.
Yes.
Right? Between digital and broadcasting, and between people who are old hands at broadcast technology, who are now suddenly coming into their own saying, oh my God, thank God for CTV, because addressable television is digitized television play out, right? But to the largest screen in the house. And they're like, oh, I understand this finally. They didn't want to waste their time trying to understand the digital advertising media, the vanilla advertising, which was on websites and apps and what you may. But they're like, largest screen in the house, looks like a TV, acts like a TV, maybe it's a TV. They're like, we've got this show now. So their PR is all about, addressability towards broadcast-like control, quote unquote, premium yield, because this is something that most broadcasters fear, being cannibalized on their yield, but still projecting on the most
premium screen
in the house. So that's the kind of theme that you see in IBC, that's kind of like running through most broadcasters right now. The playbook hasn't changed as much, but we are not seeing any new app launches.
Yeah.
There's none. We saw a lot at the cusp of the pandemic, but all broadcasters are literally making their formations and trying to figure out how do we make sure that we don't lose any more to big tech. I don't want to be another Netflix. I want to be a studio and create content, right? Netflix can be a carrier, an enabler, whatever, but I don't want to be another Netflix. I want to manage my premium yield. So I think that's what's going to happen in the broadcast space. But who's going to win at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Is YouTube. 100%, right? 100% YouTube.
Who's celebrating 15 years
Yes.
in India. How does that make you feel as an ex?
YouTuber. I was there.
Are you a YouTuber? Because you're not a YouTuber. You're
Yeah,
just
I'm not
you're an
YouTuber.
ex-Googler.
Yeah, I'm ex-Googler. Yeah. YouTuber would mean I would creating content on YouTube.
Which we
right?
do.
Which we do, but yeah, I'm not an ex-YouTuber. I'm a current YouTuber.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it was very long ago, quite frankly. And, when you look back at it, there was so much chaos when they were launching the Indian version of YouTube and, we were offering mastheads. The pitch hasn't really changed. It has become more widespread. I'm pretty sure that they can set up a masthead in no time. There's nobody sitting back, trying to figure out whether it's been switched on or not. But it's nostalgic. It's nostalgic. It's also cool to see so many people who I had worked with at Google now occupying really important positions here. It's amazing. People are MDs of various large public companies. And, all of them were walking the floors of the company that I used to work at, which is, stands testament to the fact that, yes, Google is huge, seems like a monopoly, but it really put out people who were way ahead of the market, and they are now coming back to give back to the market and push them up as well. There was a drive once upon a time in Google when they were moving from having only online support to setting up a large client services team, which was called the LCS team. And they primarily hired from big, large enterprises, IBM and, Apple and Microsoft and all of these companies, because those companies knew how to scale. And those people would know what it means to scale. And so those people were the ones who, put YouTube on the map as to where it is today. But it's nostalgic.
YouTube's country director Ishan John has basically said content consumed from the living room was the fastest growing at YouTube. And they've also added a lot of creativity tools, especially for short. And when I switch on my TV at home, one of the first things I do is open the YouTube app even today.
Really?
Yeah, I do. It's just bingy 10-minute content. Sometimes I just want that. I don't want, even on the largest screen in the house, sometimes I just want to watch that.
You said last time as well, you have the
I watch shorts.
Yeah, shorts on your screen.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the
But
time.
one of the things that really helped YouTube gain the kind of popularity that it did was their CMS and their fingerprinting.
Yeah.
Their, being able to fingerprint the kind of content that was there and being able to associate that to copyright and then being able to compensate users.
Yes.
You came across something interesting in this space.
Speaking of which, there's also two things happening across the industry that are particularly interesting. One is not new, which is the Hollywood strike. I was very, very amazed to hear that Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad doesn't get any revenue from Netflix till today.
I'm just really I'm wondering how did he allow that to happen? They're not privy to their own contracts?
I don't know. I'm sure there's somewhere in the middle of all this, there is paperwork that proves that it is what should have happened. But it's surprising for me, and I guess it's the basis of this entire. If he's not getting paid, imagine the lowly, non-famous writers who don't have a big name or face. But what I also like seeing across the industry this week is there's a company called Story Protocol, which raised $54 million from Andreessen Horowitz. And I was looking at what they're trying to do, and it seems very interesting. So basically, they call themselves an intellectual property platform optimized for the internet era. And basically what they do is they give writers and artists the ability to track their work's provenance, allowing anyone to contribute and remix while capturing the value of their contributions. So if they can crack their mission, I think it will go a long way in addressing why there's a strike today. It will go a long way in addressing the fact that in the digital world today, being able to track creative IP is extremely hard. The Hollywood strike is based on exactly this. the fear that tools like Midjourney or DALI will appropriate somebody's work while recreating new content, while being so far from the original content that there's no way to attribute it, let alone give someone money, is the biggest fear, or one of the biggest fears around AI, the other being that they will take over the world.
Right.
But I'm very excited, and they've raised $54 million. I noticed this last night because it was all over my Twitter feed, and it's a cool mission.
They were like something, right? You said they were like Git.
They call themselves the Git for IP.
Nice.
Git for creative IP. Basically,
which means that they have to also now start influencing behavior, right? Committing something to Git, having a Git account, having a, what is this company's name? Stay Protocol account. And I'm sure that if they're called Stay Protocol, there is some kind of protocol that you have to follow in terms of committing it, which means that if I commit it, within the protocol in itself, I need to find out provenance of anything that already exists similar to this.
Yes.
So
Twitter is struggling with this today, right? Because the nature of Twitter's content is one where I can copy someone's tweet and retweet it. And just because the content is, how do you know where it came from?
Correct.
Original. I mean, can you just say that the earliest tweet is the original? I don't know. I don't necessarily think so.
Yeah. So the other thing that I was thinking about also in terms of copyright and the writer's strike that's still going on right now, which has now become a very public fight where all the contractual terms are being discussed openly, right?
Dirty laundry.
Like laundry, like dirty laundry. And they have, they've come out with some 21.1% increase, and everybody is still up in arms against it. I also feel like maybe they'll come up with a spectrum, right? If you have these kind of tools that can actually understand the provenance of what has been used in remix, and in the era of YouTube Shorts and TikTok and all of the other reels and whatever else where you can remix and make your own content, the ability to understand what is the level of copyright infringement, right? How much of it seems to be more original and how much of it is influenced. Like, a parody is definitely not copyrightable, in my opinion. I mean, that's what I have garnered. I don't know whether I'm entirely right, but there are these cracks in which you could be influenced by something, but you're not stealing something completely. So that gray area is something that one can probably quantify, and then commiserate to that quantification maybe be remunerated, right? And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing, or a high value, or a no value, or a high value and a disputed value, or a disputed copyright, yes or no. But like always, we're living in very, very interesting times. Big tech is here to stay as in media, and media better wisen up to the fact that big tech cannot produce the kind of content that they have been producing for the last 100 years. And it'll take them a long time to build theme parks and come up with production values that can rival theirs and have relationships in the market, from a Spielberg to anybody in India that you want to name. Zoya Akhtar, I'm putting her on the same platform as Spielberg. But I'm just saying that, these kind of things are what broadcasters and studios actually excel at. So I feel like they should just dig their heels in and get bloody better at it and really good at it, and then give them a run for their money. Let tech do tech, you do content, right? And that's where that is, and the marriage of those two is where the magic happens. Not leaving your post and go and try and do something that you just cannot do right now. You got a head start on it, you might as well just keep going at it. Yep. So in the upcoming season, what do we see in our podcast?
We are lining up more guests. I think one of the things that has been particularly interesting in the last 2 seasons is we've managed to get some very interesting folks to come and talk to us about what they're doing, whether that's Krishna Rao or Lava Kumar or Shivendra from the Tech Lab. I think we're looking forward to bringing more guests. We have one next week. Varda from Big Basket's going to join us.
Nice.
So I'm very, very interested in bringing some folks on board from our network and talking about what they do, what they see at the front lines of our industry, and being able to even break apart some concepts for everyone to understand. So I'm looking forward to this season.
Me too. It also makes it a little easier on us, because then we can actually ask them some very interesting questions, and we can sit back and let them answer those questions, right? You don't have to really come up with something on your own. But we've had a lot of good feedback on all the various guests that we've had in the past, and we thank them for coming on to the podcast. There have been a lot of offline conversations as well. People who have written to us saying, introduce me to some guest of ours because I want to talk more to them. So if you are somebody who wants to talk to us about media, tech, retail media, commerce, content.
Or if you know someone who'd make for an interesting guest.
Oh yeah, if you know someone who'd make for an interesting guest, please reach out to us. I know that we'll carry all the details in our show notes, as well as in our LinkedIn posts and our Twitter profiles and our Instagram profile and our emails, wherever you can find us. I mean, I think that we're the most accessible company that you can ever find, because we all get hit by every single group email that there is externally. So if you're listening, you want to come on this show, write to us and we'll be happy to host you. But that brings us to the close of our first episode of this season. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Santosh. Thank you, Leena. Thank you, Gopal. And bye, everybody.